Hollywood myths. Forget everything Hollywood taught you about stagecoach travel. Those dramatic scenes of fearless heroes rescuing damsels in distress while racing through breathtaking landscapes were designed for entertainment, not accuracy. The real Old West was far harsher. Travelers endured exhausting journeys packed into cramped coaches, bounced across unforgiving roads, constantly facing the threat of robbery, deadly crashes, disease, and brutal weather. Personal diaries from the era reveal a version of history far darker than anything shown on the silver screen. Stay with us as we uncover 20 astonishing facts that expose what stagecoach travel was truly like in the American West. Before we begin, subscribe to Dark History Style and help support the channel for more forgotten stories history tried to leave behind. Number 1. Cramped and suffocating. Imagine spending several days trapped inside a space barely larger than the bed of a pickup truck while sharing it with complete strangers. That was everyday life aboard an Old West stagecoach. Although most coaches were designed to seat 6 passengers, transportation companies often squeezed in 8 or even 9 people to maximize profits. Travelers sat knee to knee with almost no room to move, making every mile increasingly uncomfortable. The lack of privacy only made things worse. Stagecoaches rarely stopped for bathroom breaks, especially when schedules were tight or dangerous territory lay ahead. Passengers were forced to hold it for hours, and in extreme situations, buckets had to be used inside the coach itself, in full view of everyone, including women and children. After several days crossing dusty deserts under the blazing sun, the combination of sweat, dirty clothes, and poor ventilation created an unbearable odor that many travelers remembered for the rest of their lives. Even veterans who had survived the Civil War admitted that the smell inside those crowded coaches rivaled some of the worst conditions they had ever experienced. Number 2. Dust that damaged your health. Traveling by stagecoach wasn't simply uncomfortable, it could leave lasting damage to your body. Every mile along the dry frontier roads sent enormous clouds of dust swirling into the air. Because the coaches were full of cracks and gaps, that dust poured inside without resistance. Passengers often wrote that after only a few hours they could barely recognize the faces sitting across from them. Fine dirt coated their hair, covered their clothes, irritated their eyes, and settled deep inside their throats and lungs. Doctors of the period recorded cases of persistent coughing that continued for months after long journeys, while some travelers developed breathing problems that never completely disappeared. During California's gold rush in the 1850s, thousands endured these conditions while moving west. The only available protection was a damp bandana tied across the face, but it quickly became clogged with dirt and offered little relief. Surprisingly, many pioneers considered the dust one of the least serious dangers they faced because so many other threats waited farther down the trail. Number 3. Why robbing stagecoaches was so profitable. Think about the opportunity from an outlaw's perspective. A stagecoach carrying Wells Fargo gold rolled across isolated roads with valuable cargo, very little protection, and almost no chance of immediate pursuit. For criminals, it was an irresistible target. One of the most famous robbers, Black Bart, perfected this strategy. He successfully held up 28 stagecoaches without firing a single shot. Instead of relying on violence, he used careful planning and intimidation, treating robbery like a business venture where the rewards far outweighed the risks. Throughout the 1870s, more criminals realized how vulnerable stagecoaches really were. There were no radios, no telephones, no rapid law enforcement response, and few witnesses scattered across hundreds of miles of wilderness. Insurance companies lost so much money that they finally introduced a new form of protection, placing an armed guard carrying a shotgun beside the driver. That practice gave birth to the famous shotgun rider, a position whose legacy still survives today whenever someone says they're riding shotgun in the front passenger seat. Number 4. Accidents that turn deadly. Every stagecoach trip was a gamble with fate. The rough frontier roads were littered with rocks, deep ruts, steep slopes, and hidden holes capable of destroying wooden wheels without warning. When a wheel shattered or a coach overturned, passengers were hurled through the air with incredible force. Some slammed into boulders, while others landed beneath frightened horses that continued running in panic. Frontier doctors working in Wyoming during the 1860s frequently treated crushed limbs, broken skulls, shattered ribs, and fatal internal injuries caused by these violent wrecks. Unlike modern vehicles, stagecoaches offered no seat belts or protective restraints. Nothing kept passengers safely inside. Survival often depended on pure luck. The drivers themselves accepted enormous risks every day, guiding teams of powerful horses across dangerous terrain in every kind of weather. Many never survived long enough to celebrate even a single year on the job. Number 5. The massive challenge of keeping stagecoaches moving. Operating a stagecoach line across the American West required far more than simply owning a coach and a few horses. It demanded an enormous logistical network spread across hundreds of miles of isolated wilderness. Fresh horses had to be waiting every 10 to 15 miles, along with clean water, hay, stable hands, and supplies. A single route stretching 100 miles could require 40 or more healthy horses stationed at different locations, ready for immediate use. Animals pushed beyond their limits frequently collapsed from exhaustion or dehydration, especially while crossing deserts where neither grass nor reliable water existed. Keeping those stations supplied became an expensive operation. Companies constantly dispatched wagons loaded with feed, tools, and equipment into regions where almost nothing could be produced locally. The entire system resembled a military supply chain operating across hostile territory. If even one station failed to receive what it needed, the entire route could break down, leaving passengers stranded in some of the most remote places in the American West. Number 6. Diseases that traveled with every coach. Imagine a stagecoach as a moving carrier of disease, connecting distant towns long before anyone truly understood how illnesses spread. Every stop along the route brought new passengers aboard, and with them came invisible dangers. Cholera, smallpox, influenza, and other contagious diseases often traveled hundreds of miles inside the same crowded cabin. The situation was frighteningly simple. Someone feeling sick could board a coach in St. Louis, ride for days through the frontier, and unknowingly introduce disease into isolated communities that had little natural immunity. There were no medical screenings, no quarantine procedures, and no health inspections. If you could afford the fare, you climbed aboard. Inside the tightly packed coach, windows were usually kept closed to reduce the endless dust, leaving passengers breathing the same stale air for hours. Historians have found that many disease outbreaks followed major transportation routes almost exactly. It wasn't merely coincidence. The stagecoach system became one of the fastest ways illnesses spread across the expanding American West, making progress come with a deadly hidden cost. Number 7. The journey that destroyed your spine. Most people complain after hitting a few potholes in today's vehicles. Now imagine enduring those violent jolts for 12 hours a day, day after day. Old West stagecoaches had almost no real suspension. Instead of modern shock absorbers, they relied on thick leather straps that barely softened the impact of rough roads. Every rock, rut, and uneven trail sent powerful vibrations directly into the passengers' bodies. Doctors eventually noticed that people who traveled frequently developed severe back problems unusually early in life. Many suffered compressed spinal discs, constant pain, and reduced mobility while still relatively young. The condition became so common that some physicians informally referred to it as stagecoach spine. The punishment didn't stop there. Modern medical experts understand that repeated impacts can also affect the brain. Although frontier doctors couldn't explain it scientifically, many regular travelers became forgetful, mentally exhausted, or unusually confused after long journeys. Every bump also shifted internal organs slightly inside the body, making long-distance travel feel less like transportation and more like surviving a relentless physical beating. Number 8. Food that could make you seriously ill. Stopping for a meal along the trail offered little comfort. Travelers ate whatever happened to be available, regardless of freshness or quality. Pork often sat unrefrigerated for days or even weeks. Bread frequently showed patches of mold, while coffee was prepared using untreated well water that sometimes carried dangerous bacteria. The food supplied enough calories to keep people moving, but it also exposed them to illnesses that could become life-threatening. Without antibiotics or modern sanitation, the human body had to fight infections alone. Some travelers managed to adapt, but many developed high fevers, severe stomach cramps, dehydration, and violent diarrhea that lasted for days. Historical records suggest dysentery claimed more lives on the frontier than many famous gunfights ever did. Interestingly, many people raised during that period possessed stronger tolerance to contaminated food because they had been exposed to similar conditions throughout childhood. Meals that modern travelers would immediately reject were considered completely ordinary on the frontier. Number 9. Sleep was almost impossible. A stagecoach journey from Missouri to California could last nearly a month, covering around 2,000 miles across some of America's harshest terrain. Passengers rarely experienced genuine sleep during that entire trip. Instead, they dozed upright on narrow wooden benches while the coach continued rolling day and night. Every bump, sharp turn, and sudden jolt interrupted whatever rest they managed to find. After several days without proper sleep, many travelers began experiencing strange psychological effects. shadows seemed to move on their own. Ordinary sounds became frightening. Some even reported seeing figures that weren't really there. Today, scientists recognize these symptoms as the natural consequences of extreme sleep deprivation. The body may continue functioning, but the brain gradually begins losing its ability to process reality correctly. Many passengers feared they were losing their minds, when in fact they were simply suffering from prolonged exhaustion unlike anything most people experience today. Number 10. Not everyone was treated equally. The inside of a stagecoach reflected the social divisions that already existed throughout America. Passengers who could afford full-price tickets enjoyed seats inside the cabin, protected from harsh weather and blowing dust. Those who paid reduced fares often rode outside on the roof alongside luggage, exposed to scorching heat, freezing temperatures, rain, and constant danger. For some groups, even that wasn't guaranteed. Chinese laborers, Native Americans, and other marginalized people were frequently refused passage altogether despite having enough money to purchase tickets. Some transportation companies openly enforced discriminatory policies, while others left those decisions entirely to individual drivers. The result remained the same. Equal access to transportation simply didn't exist. The freedom often associated with the American frontier was unavailable to many people because of their background or ethnicity. Long before segregation became formally written into law, discrimination was already shaping everyday life, even aboard a stagecoach crossing the open plains. Number 11. How women protected themselves on the trail. For women, traveling by stagecoach wasn't simply exhausting, it could also be dangerous. Imagine spending several days inside a cramped wooden coach with strangers you had never met. There was little privacy, almost no ventilation, and very few people nearby if something went wrong. Because of those risks, many women quietly developed their own methods of protection. One of the most common tools was a long steel hat pin. Although designed to secure large hats, it could easily be used as a weapon if someone became aggressive. Others carried tiny derringer pistols hidden beneath layers of clothing, small enough to remain unnoticed but powerful enough to discourage an attacker. Many relied on something even more effective than weapons: deception. Women often claimed they were traveling to meet their husbands, pretended another passenger was a relative, or invented stories about family members waiting at the next station. These simple lies frequently discouraged anyone looking for an easy target. Experienced stagecoach drivers also followed an unofficial practice. Women traveling alone were often seated near the coach door, allowing them to leave quickly if an emergency occurred. Survival on the frontier depended as much on awareness as courage, and many women mastered both. Number 12. Comanche attacks changed entire routes. Crossing the Great Plains during the 1860s could become a fight for survival without warning. A stagecoach might travel for hours across open grasslands with nothing but endless horizon in every direction. Then, almost instantly, Comanche warriors could appear on horseback, moving with incredible speed across the prairie. The advantage usually belonged to the riders. The driver had only one job: keep the frightened horses moving. Meanwhile, passengers attempted to defend themselves by firing through tiny coach windows. That was easier said than done. Most rifles required half a minute or more to reload after every shot. Comanche horsemen operated very differently. Riding at full speed, they could release multiple arrows in the time it took someone inside the coach to reload a single rifle. They constantly changed direction, circled their target, and attacked from several angles at once, making accurate return fire extremely difficult. Several stagecoach routes became so dangerous that transportation companies temporarily abandoned them after deadly attacks were reported. On the frontier, geography often favored skilled horsemen over slow-moving wagons, turning long-distance travel into a gamble many passengers never forgot. Number 13. Winters could be deadlier than outlaws. People often imagine the Wild West as endless deserts and blazing sunshine, but winter created a completely different threat. Crossing the Rocky Mountains during freezing weather placed travelers inside a wooden coach that offered almost no protection against the cold. Bitter winds slipped through every crack, while thin leather curtains did little to keep warmth inside. There were no heaters. Passengers wrapped themselves in blankets, but after hours of exposure the freezing winds slowly drained body heat. Modern science shows that moving air removes heat far faster than still air, making cold conditions feel even harsher. The elderly and young children faced the greatest danger. Many reached their destination suffering from frostbite on their fingers, ears, and faces. Others never arrived at all. Historical accounts describe deaths from hypothermia occurring during routine winter journeys, and stagecoach companies rarely compensated grieving families for those losses. Sometimes surviving winter required nothing more than enduring one freezing mile after another. Number 14. The stagecoach became an oven. If winter was deadly, summer could be just as unforgiving. Imagine riding across the Mojave Desert with outside temperatures climbing well above 120 degrees Fahrenheit. The stagecoach itself became a trap. Its wooden walls absorbed sunlight throughout the day, while leather curtains trapped heat inside. Fresh air barely entered the cabin, leaving passengers surrounded by hot, motionless air for hours. Sweat offered little relief because the lack of ventilation slowed evaporation. As body temperature continued rising, exhaustion quickly turned into heat stroke. Historical accounts describe passengers collapsing before reaching the next station. Some never recovered. Experienced travelers learned to avoid daytime crossings whenever possible, choosing nighttime departures instead. Under the desert sun, a stagecoach wasn't simply uncomfortable, it became a moving furnace capable of pushing the human body beyond its limits. Number 15. Losing your luggage usually meant losing it forever. Today, airlines track bags using computers and digital records. In the Old West, none of that existed. Drivers usually kept simple handwritten lists describing luggage in vague terms like 3 trunks or 2 sacks. Names were often missing altogether. If a stagecoach overturned, was robbed, or cargo scattered across the trail, recovering belongings became almost impossible. Transportation companies relied on local ranchers, farmers, and station workers to report abandoned luggage they happened to discover. Compensation depended largely on trust, with passengers expected to prove ownership despite having very little evidence. Even more suspicious, surviving business records suggest that luggage disappeared repeatedly along certain routes involving the same employees. Whether these losses resulted from theft, carelessness, or poor record-keeping remains uncertain, but many travelers reached their destination without ever seeing their possessions again.